So if you have huge news for the club today, how positive do you feel a step this is?
Yeah, I mean, a huge step forward. Obviously, Lee and Graham are a central part of that. We had a number of conversations for quite a number of months, really, that has led to this. And the idea is that firstly, they're joining the club on a full-time basis. They continue, of course, with their first team priorities, but obviously because they've now got a full-time role at the club, they can invest time as well in the academy. And as you've heard this morning, we've also got a number of key partners, so Martin and his Improtech business working with us, and by no means least, Bede and Sunderland College and the Bede campus. So there's a number of parties that have kind of got together, but certainly Lee and Graham are at the centre of this, and their involvement was critical.
You mentioned a lot in the past about wanting this to become a community club as well. Is this all part of that in terms of creating a pathway through to the first team for younger players as well?
Yeah, very much so, Dan. I think the whole idea is that you've just encapsulated it entirely. That the idea is quite a close-knit academy, typically around 40 students and talented young footballers. Hopefully we can get them from South Shields, but certainly from the North East, but with a South Shields focus. Identify that talent, develop it, and hopefully that will feed into the first team. And again, that's all part of that long-term planning for the club to make sure that we've got the right infrastructure and the right processes and the right procedures, and we've got a mechanism to continue to invest.
Does it say a lot about the faith you've got in Lee and Graham as well, and how pleased you are with the job they've done so far, that you've trusted them with something as big as this as well?
Yeah, very much so. And in fairness to them, they've also made a big commitment to the club, because they had full-time roles, and I think they've been there for something like 10 years at Monkseaton College. So a big leap from them, and an equally big leap of faith or vote of confidence from the club and from me in them. So it's a kind of reciprocal thing. But yeah, they've got a model that's worked well at Monkseaton. I think we can do things a little differently and a little better, and we've got new partners in the in the way that I described a moment ago. So I think all of those parties combined, but with Lee and Graham at the centre of it, I'm sure will make this a huge success.
It's another major step for the club as well. Obviously, you only had the club in charge for 2 years or so as well. It's been a huge sea change, hasn't it, over those 2 years?
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey, and it feels like longer than 2 years in some respects, but for all the right reasons, it's been an amazing journey. When I think about it, at the beginning, I didn't really, if I'm honest, imagine that we'd have got this far this quickly. So it's great to reflect on that. What you can't do, of course, is just pat yourself and others on the back and rest on your laurels, if you like. You've got to keep moving forward. So I think we've come a long way in a couple of years. Been an amazing journey. We've got obviously a big event coming up in a week and a bit, and that'll be the icing on the cake, really. But I do think that we've got a long journey long and exciting journey ahead. So let's hope we just finish the season in the way that we imagine, and I believe we will, and then we move on to next year.
We've mentioned in the press release as well that the ultimate goal is to become a Football League club. Obviously that's a long way off at the moment as well, but how much faith have you got that the process that you're putting in place now is going to help us achieve that in the future? Yeah,
well, I think all I can do is keep doing the right things, and it's not just me. It's, as I keep repeating, a whole bunch of people who are kind of behind the scenes trying to make things work. So I think we've got to continue to invest in the right areas. We've obviously got to make the whole experience for our fans a good one. So obviously perform on the pitch, but also make sure that the day down at Mariners Park is a great day out for people. And I mention that because, without the fans, we wouldn't have come this far this quickly, and we wouldn't be as ambitious as you've outlined. But there's no reason why Shields couldn't become a Football League side. I think we've got the fan base, we've got the enthusiasm, we've certainly got the beginnings of a setup. I mean, there's still a lot of work to do, but we've got the beginnings of something here that could achieve that. Again, it's always dangerous to sort of predict success and talk about ambition, because if you fall slightly short, then inevitably people kind of remind you of it. But I think we're doing all the right things. We just got to keep doing that, invest in the right areas, and we've got to rely on our fans to keep turning up. And if all of those things happen, then I think we're on a very exciting journey.
I was going to say it will be vital that people continue to support the club and come along in the numbers for games.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to make sure we deliver a good product for them, so we've got to perform on the pitch, and it's got to be a good experience when they come down to Mariners. And as you know, we've invested quite a bit down here already, and we'll continue to make the right investments as required to make that experience as best as it possibly can be. I mention that because obviously, you can't expect fans to turn up if you're not performing on the pitch, and equally if they don't have a good experience on match day. So we're doing all we can to make sure that both of those conditions that those conditions apply. And then it's about, the fans continue to turn up, spend their money. We then reinvest that money in the first team and in the infrastructure. So yeah, without stating the obvious, the fans and their support are absolutely critical to our long-term success.
And the key is that every money that comes into the club as well goes straight out on things to spend within the club, isn't it? So everything stays inside the club. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm certainly not taking a salary, and there's only a small number of people who are, who are payrolled, if you like. I mean, obviously, the bar staff and certain back office staff and a couple of senior people. But my point is, it's very limited. I'm giving up my time freely. Not that matters, but my point is that we're not kind of taking big salaries or dividends or anything else out of the club. Everything that the fans spend is being reinvested, and that's how it'll continue.
That's a huge ambition for the future as well, and lots to look forward to. But immediately, it's Wembley, the FA Vase. How much are you looking forward to that? And
yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because it's we've known about it for quite a number of weeks now, and then as the days draw nearer, I'm getting more and more excited about it. A little bit of nerves, but in a positive way. What I do know is that we're all going to have an unbelievable day out, a really memorable day. It's great to hear that we're selling tickets, in the plenty. So I think at last count, I believe it was around 13,000. So I'm hoping we might get up to about 15,000 Shields fans down there. We will undoubtedly have a great day out. Obviously, we all hope and believe that we'll get the right result. That's not to be disrespectful to our opponents, of course, because Cleethorpes are a good side and they're there on merit. But I think, on the day, I'm sure Lee and Graham and the first team will be properly prepared, and we'll get out there and give it our best shot. But turning to the day, it's going to be an incredible day out, and I'm sure, a lot of our fans are going down for the weekend. We're going to have a really good time and have a great party weekend. And as I say, hopefully we'll deliver on the pitch.
Such an incredible season as well. Could you ever have imagined the level of success this season as well?
Yeah, it's hard to believe, isn't it? No, in short, as you know, during this season we were well behind North Shields for most of the season, and all credit to them. They ran us very close, and then of course the success in the cup competitions. It's quite hard to believe that all of those things have happened in one season. And obviously we've got the big one on the 21st. So there's it's hard to sort of take it all in, really. It's been an incredible season, but I'm equally excited about next year. Obviously it's going to be very hard to emulate the success we've had this year, but it's a whole new venture for the club against new opponents, new grounds that we'll be travelling to, new visitors to Mariners Park. We've obviously talked this morning about the launch of the academy, so again that's another new initiative. So there's a lot going on for next year, not just what's going to happen on the pitch and the opponents that we're going to meet, but also a continued investment in some of this infrastructure and the work that goes on behind the scenes to make the club successful in the longer term.
Am I confident that next season you can have the same sort of level of success in a different league?
Yeah, well, it's difficult. I'm no more than a Shields fan like the rest of us, and so I'm not saying I'm particularly well qualified to comment. I think we'll be giving it our best shot. Lee and Graham will have the right budget to both retain the existing first team members and where appropriate attract new talent. So there's not going to be a kind of budget constraint. Equally, we're going to go about it in the right way. So it's not just about throwing money at it. It's making sure that we have the strong side that we've got now, and where appropriate, supplemented by new talent. So, you know, the view is that we think we'll fare very well next season, and we'll compete, you know, very effectively. There are examples of other sides that have, you know, that we're following in their footsteps to a degree. Spennymoor, perhaps, are an example, and they've obviously had some recent success, and, you know, very well done to them. So no, I think next year, you know, be interesting to see how we perform, but I've got no doubts that we're going to be putting our best foot forward. We'll be prepared. We've got some exciting pre-season games planned, which we haven't yet announced, but we've got some exciting fixtures lined up pre-season, and I think we'll have an exciting time next year as well. But of course, as you rightly say, we've got to get through the 21st of May and that big occasion at Wembley, and I'm sure the lads will do us proud.